Pop-Tarts. They're little sugary treats you grab before going to school, or snack on while you're working at 3 a.m., or you buy from your high school history teacher because for some reason every history teacher I had sold Pop-Tarts. Everyone loves them, including Jerry Seinfeld, the writer, director, producer, and star of Unfrosted, the satirical retelling of the creation of Pop-Tarts. And this is an absolutely bonkers movie, but not in a good way. It tries to be as joyously wacky and fun as a movie like Airplane, but it fails to properly execute its premise. It ends up being terribly unfunny, like Logan Paul's Airplane Mode. 1, 2, 3. Now, comedy is a very subjective thing. Different movies, shows, and comedians work for different people and for different reasons. And in my personal opinion, Unfrosted is just not that funny. And I think that's largely due to the pacing and writing. The movie moves so fast from scene to scene to scene, and the jokes are shot out at a super fast rate to the point where none of them have any lasting impact. And I don't know if there's a lot of ad-libbing or if the written material is just that terrible, but there's a bunch of examples of jokes that fall completely flat.
His own goddamn milk carton. Sorry for my French.
That's not French.
Of course it's not French, you moron. But I will be fair and say that there are a few good, funny lines here and there, like,
I hope you die in a car fire.
Our first payment to El Sucre was late, and somehow he gave me diabetes.
On a personal note, Daddy bought himself a Wheelo.
But yeah, this movie's peaks were car fires, diabetes, and the Wheelo. I do actually kind of like the premise. Exaggerating the origin of Pop-Tarts by combining elements of the space race is a fun, really out there idea. But it doesn't feel like the movie really takes advantage of that premise. Outside of the litany of side plots that really drag the movie down, the main story is super basic. The two cereal companies are racing to put the first pastry on store shelves, then the main character assembles a group to make that pastry. There's a bunch of trials and tribulations, but then they eventually succeed in making Pop-Tarts, and the rest is history. It's a really generic and very predictable story, and like I mentioned, there's a bunch of subplots that completely derail the entire film. I personally think casting Hugh Grant as Tony the Tiger is a really funny idea, but I don't need an entire subplot of him not feeling respected by Kellogg's and then leading a strike and an eventual uprising against Kellogg's. Why is there a QAnon shaman reference in my Pop-Tarts movie? What is this? There's also the Cuban sugar crisis subplot, which feels like a big waste of time. The whole joke here is that sugar looks like the other white powder stuff that I can't say on YouTube. You know, Bolivian marching powder? I will say though, I don't mind the side story with the milkmen. I thought the idea of basically turning them into the mob was kind of funny, and it gave us a Peter Dinklage cameo, so that's cool. And speaking of cameos, there's a bunch. There's Patrick Warburton, John Hamm, Dean Norris, and Bill Burr as JFK. What? I have so many questions. Why did they pick Bill Burr? Why is his impression actually not terrible? Why did they confirm in the movie that the milkmen are responsible for the assassination of JFK? That's a real thing. They actually did that. Man, all this talk of JFK makes me really want to play some COD Zombies again. Be right back. Outside of the cameos, I think the main cast is on a spectrum from meh to bad. We'll talk about Jerry in a minute, but Melissa McCarthy is not very good. Honestly, it sort of feels like she's phoning it in. Even in her worst movies, she's at least committing to the role. But this just ain't it.
That's not French.
Hugh Grant is fine. Outside of the initial haha, Hugh Grant's Tony the Tiger, it really doesn't add much to the movie. And I already talked about how much I don't care for his character story. Also, yes, Amy Schumer is in the movie, and she's just as tepid and flat as always. I'm not gonna go on a crazy Amy Schumer hate rant because people have already done that plenty, and there's nothing new here at all. This film is also just a terrible mixture of nostalgia bait and product placement. The opening shot is quite literally a kid packing up a bunch of super popular, memorable stuff from the 60s. And the whole rest of the movie is pretty much, hey, don't you love breakfast products? Why don't you go buy breakfast products? Also, pull your skin off. And I understand that a movie about Kellogg's in post is gonna have a bunch of different cereals and cereal mascots, but it doesn't need a whole slow-mo scene of the characters sitting down to eat cereal with really gross close-ups. I have a feeling this scene was some sort of contractual agreement to advertise Kellogg's cereal, but honestly, I don't think I ever want to eat cereal again. Also, and I'm not making this up, there's a Rice Krispie treat cameo in this movie. These kids are digging around in a dumpster and mix up Rice Krispies with marshmallows. Now, like, here's this cool new thing we found. You know, X-Men 97 had cameos from Spider-Man, Captain America, and the Hulk. But Unfrosted had Rice Krispie treats, so yeah. And there's a bunch of other meh to bad things as well. This movie looks fine. It's bright and colorful like a comedy movie should be, but there's really nothing special to it. Also, the characters are not really characters. Bob Cabana is just Jerry Seinfeld. Donna Stankowski is just Melissa McCarthy. And there are no character arcs or developments of any kind, making this one of the flattest, most boring cast of characters ever. And then there's the creator of this disaster, the Thomas Andrews of the Titanic, the Oppenheimer of the atomic bomb, Jerry Seinfeld.
You like Pop-Tart?
Like many other people, I'm curious why he even wanted to make this movie. What possessed this man to write, direct, produce, and star in the Pop-Tarts film? I looked online for some answers and they were kind of shocking. He made the Pop-Tarts movie because he thought it would be cool. What? Are you trying to tell me that he didn't make this movie out of pure passion for Pop-Tarts? Or that he doesn't pound 2.5 boxes of unfrosted strawberry Pop-Tarts every night purely for the sport of it? Or that Pop-Tarts are not his Roman Empire? Surely this cannot be true. But seriously, I respect that Jerry Seinfeld didn't have a ton of passion for this movie. He just had a fun idea and wanted to make it a reality. I think both in the entertainment industry as well as on YouTube, people can get swept up in making their next masterpiece or their magnum opus. And while the pursuit is all well and good, making something for the fun of it is still a respectable thing to do. But with that being said, while I do respect this movie, I still don't think it's very good. So I'm gonna give Unfrosted a 2 out of 10. If you enjoyed this video, why not hit the subscribe button so you never miss a new video from me. And if you want to watch a video on a much better movie, click here to watch my review of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Or you can click here on the video that YouTube picked out just for you.